Monday. You can hear him on Niners Nightly. He also does the Krug Show on YouTube. He's here. He's there. He's everywhere. He's on our stream today. What's up, Krug? How are you?
Feeling great. Great Monday. Anytime the Niners win, it's great. When they score 41, it's better. And they're 7-4. They got a nice little spot in the division. They got a nice little spot in the conference. They swept the division on the road. They got a great chance at the playoffs, and who knows? Anything can happen when you get there.
So let's go through it. We've been talking about this forever and ever, trying to speculate, how this offense would be different. And all the guys talked about it when George came back, and you've got Christian obviously having a healthy year, and Trent, playing better now, and the offensive line is blocking better. But you get Brock Purdy back, big brain Brock back to decipher the defense and get the ball in the hands of the people that need to have the ball, Christian and George in particular, and Juwan and Ricky, certainly a piece yesterday, and he'll get more as time goes on. As you assess this team and the youthfulness of the defense, and now we're going to wait with fingers crossed about Tatum Bethune and that ankle injury. We'll check in with Jennifer Lee Chan, but he had to be, and I know that walk, from the locker room to the bus in Arizona, you go across the entire field there. He couldn't make it. He had to be carted across with the ankle. Is this offense capable? And Arizona's been ravaged by injury, and it did it against a bad Giant team. When you go up against a defense like Carolina 1 week from today, Larry, are they 41's a lot, but can you go 30 for Purdy with this group now that you're getting your veterans back and you got QB1 back?
Even 30 could be asking a lot, but I think that Brock Purdy means about a touchdown more a game, so the Niners are averaging about 20 without him, and with him, they're averaging about 27. I think the one thing we forget about is that, it's the part of the game that we can't see. People always devalue the things they can't see and put more value in things they can see. Well, you can see errors of commission, turnovers, interceptions. You can't see errors of omission where quarterback just didn't read the coverage or whatever. But Brock, I think, is such a great operator. He could teach this offense. He knows it better than Mac Jones, quite a bit better. So we saw that yesterday. At the line of scrimmage, he can get you out of a negative play and into a positive play, easier and more readily than the other quarterbacks because he's been in the offense longer. And you saw it. You saw it on the Kittle pass. You saw it on a pass to Juszczyk later in the game. You saw it on the CMC touchdown. Brock can look at the defense, change the play, and he's got that ability. And so, I think, can they score 40? No. But nobody wants to play the 49ers. You can just say that for sure. You can, because Kyle is difficult to prepare for. Brock was going to play with a lot of poise. They got stars up and down their offense. They got a great defensive coordinator. And, I don't think they can stop anybody defensively, but I think they might be able to pop a ball out here or there and make a big play defensively with all the youth they have there. And they're going to have to. In these big games in the playoffs, they're going to have to get a break or two on defense and get the game in a tempo they like, maybe get a lead. They're much better with a lead than without one. And make a couple key plays on defense. Look at the yardage disparity. The first downs were even. The yardage was totally one-sided in the Cardinals' favor, and yet the Niners still put up 41 and held them to 22 and shut down their run game.
Krug, I saw you tweeting about Sky Moore after that first drive and the kickoff return that set up the easiest first drive for Brock Purdy he could have had in his return. Now, 49ers special teams has quietly become a plus when we've been so used to it being an obstacle in the past few years. So what are some of the things that we're not seeing behind the scenes that have special teams improving throughout the season and really helping aid this team overcome all the obstacles that they've been facing?
Well, Boyer's a terrific coach. I don't think there's any question. He's had a lot of success in this league as a special teams coordinator. It's taken a while to get things going, so they had to have a different kicker. They had to have a different return guy. They drafted Bergen with the idea he'd be it. He wasn't it. So then Lynch had to trade for a guy. But man, Sky Moore is a terrific young kid, and I had a great conversation at his locker with him this last week. And I said to him, I'm like, hey man, you're this close to taking to a house call. I'm watching it on the All 22, and he's like, I know. And then I credited him. I said, hey man, there's a lot of guys who soft pedal it up through there. you bring it. I mean, you really, go full bore. And I go, you may get blown up, but you know what? You don't. There's no soft pedaling it. You're not going 3/4 speed. You go 1,000,000 miles an hour. And he looked at me and he's like, I do get blown up though sometimes. And he laughed. But I mean, he knew he was close to busting one. I mentioned it to Brianna Janelle on the 49ers show. I said, look for a house call from Sky Moore, and he didn't. It didn't happen, but it almost happened.
Well, it set it up for the next play for Christian McCaffrey to get in the end zone. But the game really turned, and everybody's written about it and talked about it, and you referenced it. Brock Purdy canning that play and going on the corner route to George Kittle for a touchdown. So, the Niners they don't have a kill call in this offense. They have an Oscar call, which flips the play from one side to the other, which is always kind of a tip to me that it's a run play, that you're flipping it left, right, or vice versa. But the can is you're canning the first play call going to a second, and sometimes they actually call 3 plays in one. But basically, you're taking the first play and you're throwing it in the trash can, and you're going to the second one. And Brock went to that can call to get the double man look against Kittle on one side and McCaffrey on the other. I was just telling the audience, and I'm glad I heard Tim Ryan on this morning with Murph and Marcus, and he thought the same thing. When I watched that play, Larry, and I haven't fired up the All-22, we'll do it later in the week and maybe break it down for the playbook, I read it the opposite. I thought Arizona was showing zone on that play and not man, but that's the big brain of Brock Purdy. Juszczyk took like one step going left, and Brock said, stop, go back over there, and then he canned it and he went to the play. You watch all this stuff backwards and forwards every different way, the TV copy and the silent All-22. What did I miss there? What did you see that was a man coverage on the Kittle first touchdown? I saw that as zone. What did Brock see?
Wasn't there a pre-snap motion there, or not pre-snap motion, a shift? I thought there was a pre-snap,
but no
shift.
one followed. No one moved with anybody. That's why I thought it was zone.
From that moment, Brock felt like it was man, like he had man there. And he had Kittle isolated because you could, there was an eagerness to get that play off. I mean, he felt like he saw something there because, like, if you look at the way Brock surveyed the field throughout the game, there was very few times that he just locked on one guy and threw it. But that play, that's exactly what he did. He was looking specifically for Kittle, specifically on that route. So he obviously saw something pre-snap. When we talked to him on Thursday, Greg, I will ask him that question because I saw that as well. And this is a guy who really does survey the field well and has a pretty good idea and wants to take a look at the field, usually before he throws the ball. But this one, his shoulders, his footwork, his look was all on Kittle. Like it seemed like it's like he got what he wanted pre-shift, canned the play, got into another play, and went right to Kittle. Didn't survey the field, didn't kind of look around, and he just threw a perfect dime, put it right on his hands. It's not an easy throw to make either, and he dropped it right in the bucket. I'll say this: I think the one thing that's so encouraging after watching the Niners the last month, they have 2 of the NFL's more accurate quarterbacks. I mean, they got 2 guys who can process, 2 guys who are smart, but 2 guys who can put it on the hands of the receiver. And man, that's a great thing. There's some teams that don't have a quarterback like that at all. That none of their quarterbacks can put it on the hands. The Niners have 2 guys that can process, that are smart, that can lead, but also can throw dimes.
Talking to Larry Krueger here, a few more minutes as we do every Monday. And today, it's our 7th Victory Monday. So, Krug, you mentioned the net yards for the Arizona Cardinals. That was 488. How problematic do you see that being, that the defense conceded a lot of yards? Because I know that when you build a big lead like the Niners did, you have the tendency to give up a lot more underneath plays, just not giving up the big chunks that are going to get a team back in the game. But at the same time, all we talked about last week was how Matthew Stafford and the Rams went and dissected that 49ers defense. So where are the alarm bells at when you look at a game like yesterday?
Well, I mean, you're looking at a backup quarterback, a good one, a veteran, but a backup quarterback who just threw for 452 yards. He didn't have his top receivers, 2 top receivers, or 2 top running backs. I mean, he didn't have his guys. I mean, he didn't have Connor. There was no Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, they were down their guys, and they still threw for 452. Part of it was situational and game flow, where the Niners were kind of playing a bend but don't break kind of a thing. But they just don't. They can't affect the quarterback. I mean, they just absolutely can't affect the quarterback enough. They got no sacks. They got 4 hits on the quarterback all day. And Sam Aquinu, I think, is playing pretty well. Bryce Huff is obviously the best rusher they have, but they don't affect the quarterback very much up front. And I thought Keon White played pretty well. But they need more. And they need more. I mean, they can't move that quarterback. So what's it going to look like when they get even next week against a Bryce Young, who does have some receivers and is in a kind of a little bit of a rhythm and can move around a little bit? What is that going to look like? I'm not sure how much. It was a great win, and it was great to see Brock Purdy back. I'm not sure how much you can take from that as far as the defense and what it means for the defense. I'll say this. I mean, in my post-game show, I did the game ball thing, and I said Curtis Robinson got my game ball just because everything he's gone through, and then he came on in the second quarter, and from the second quarter to the end of the game, he had 12 tackles, 5 solo. C-Rob played a great game. He's a terrific guy, as you guys all know, but I thought he played maybe the best game of his career.
I wanted them to start, honestly, over Tatum Bethune, but there's a process here, and Tatum has improved from last year. But from what I saw, Curtis Robinson was going to be a starting linebacker for this team, and then he tore the ACL in a special teams drill. Devondre was going to get benched, and I think that never happened because of the injury, and that's just the nature of next man up in the NFL. So I just want to follow up on one question you were asking Kyle, and it was about the culture in every room and how important it is in next man up. And you singled out the quarterback room.
Yeah.
And Mac Jones has proven, I think he already proved it when he was a rookie in New England. The guy was the 15th overall pick in the draft, that he's a starting quarterback in this league. But he reproved to everybody with the right people around him, he can flourish. He should be a starting quarterback. He's just not going to be here when Brock Purdy is healthy. And your question was about the culture in the room. Mac Jones could make this difficult. Mac Jones could speak out. He could go to his agent. You can't trade him now because the deadline is passed. And I don't know how he's going to handle the offseason, but you're around him more. To me, the Mac Daddy has been a godsend to save this year, to win 5 of the 8 games that Brock missed. And now he just willingly, to some degree, scout team quarterback. He goes back and he becomes QB2, and he'll stay ready in case something happens to Brock. But I don't think people realize enough in professional sports, Brock Purdy taking the job back seems like the obvious, but there were people that were making the argument to keep Mac Jones. Mac Jones could make this very unhealthy, unsettling, not go as smooth. This guy has proven he is a leader, a winner, a pro, and a QB1 in so many regards that he has just kind of taken this nicely and just gone back to being Brock's backup, Larry.
Yeah, I mean, before I got into radio, like long time ago, we're talking about out of Sac State. I worked for the Sacramento Gold Miners. I was the defensive quality control assistant linebacker coach under the guidance of Kay Stevenson, who at the time was a former head coach of the Buffalo Bills and was coaching in the Canadian League. Yeah, Kay Stevenson, great guy. And so Kay gave me an opportunity, an opportunity that was an unbelievable opportunity. I was a personnel assistant. I was a quality control guy. I was an assistant linebacker coach. I sat in on all the meetings, everything. And Kay Stevenson, one day we're having a meeting about personnel in the offseason, and he said, "Look, guys, you know how I feel about the quarterback room." And I raised my hand. I said, "Kay, I'm new here. I don't know how you feel about the quarterback room. Can you restate how you feel about the quarterback room?" And he said, "The quarterback room and the chemistry within it will eventually become the chemistry and the vibe of your team. So the quarterback room chemistry is vitally important. You can't just throw any 3 or 4 guys in there and just be like, hey, we'll all work out. No, if you have terrible chemistry, your team will eventually have terrible chemistry. If you have great chemistry, your team will eventually have great chemistry." And I mentioned it to Kyle because there's no doubt that they have a great quarterback room. I've talked to all 4 of the guys in there, Rourke, Martinez, Brock, Mac. And the reason first of all, Brock is a great human being. And I think you guys all know that. But then Jones has got a great sense of humor. He's very confident in his abilities, but he understands the situation. And he was told the situation when he came in by Kyle and John. This is the deal. You're the backup. You're the number 2. You're going to come here. You're going to resuscitate your career. It's going to benefit you. But we don't, this is the way it is. So they haven't yanked his sheets or changed anything up. They've communicated. Communication is the name of the game, right? And then you got two other young guys in Martinez, who's now been cut, but he'll be back, I think. And then you got Rourke, and they're all about the same age. They're 24, 25. They all get along really well. Brock knows the most about the offense. Jones has the second most experience, but they got great dialogue. They got a young coach who's very enthusiastic in Mick Lombardi, and their rhythm in there and their respect for one another and the way they treat one another, I think, is bled into the rest of the team. And I just wanted to ask Kyle if he thought if that was his philosophy. I didn't necessarily get the question out the way I wanted to, but he basically said, yeah, the quarterback room chemistry is important. And he does think that it's bled into the rest of the team. So, and that's all a testament to Brock and Mac. The young guys are going to try to do what they can do and learn. It's year one for both. But for Mac to sit there and have the mental maturity to be like, hey, I'm gonna compartmentalize this. I'm gonna play like crazy when I'm in there, and then I'm not gonna make any waves when I'm not. I don't think him and Brock are like the warmest of buddies, but there's a mutual respect there that goes beyond.
I just think Adrian Martinez might be the problem all along here in this. No, I'm kidding. Krug, we were riffing a little bit before you came on about how you talked about Brian Robinson Jr. and the McCaffrey split, and that was the discussion point last Monday. And I'm like, I think McCaffrey was listening to KNBR, heard that, and took it personally. When we did game balls, I gave one of mine to Christian McCaffrey because, yeah, you could theoretically do it just about every week, but it is remarkable, the consistency. And he still is the most important player on this team for all they've lost, for all they've overcome. To do it with Brock Purdy back yesterday, we've hardly gotten to see that this year. We've hardly gotten to see it for 2 years, so it was nice.
Let's credit Ben Barch and Jake Brendel inside. I mean, I think a couple of those runs, if you go back and watch, I haven't watched the second half again. I watched the first half again. I thought Barch was really good in this game, and I thought Brendel was really good. And there were a couple inside runs where he absolutely ran off their backside and hit the hole up the middle fast. There's no dancing on those A-gap runs. You got to hit it. And McCaffrey did 6.2 a carry. He was very effective. And then we saw the 20-yard run. We hadn't seen a 20-yard run, and you could see it's like Christian wants that 20-yard run. He was keeping those legs moving on that second level and trying to keep his balance. But it's a good mix, man. I mean, my only complaint, I think, from McCaffrey or from Shanahan in this game would be like, hey, man, you're up multiple scores in the fourth quarter. This guy's indispensable to what you're doing. Give me some Garendo. Give me some Garendo. Give me some Tonjes. Give me some Mac Jones. Get those three gotta have it guys. Because do I give the Niners a chance in the playoffs? Well, if I give them a chance, it's on the strength of this offense with Purdy, Kittle, and CMC as the stars, and obviously Trent. So it's really vitally important that if they get in some one-sided games, they get those guys off the field. Bryce Huff a few weeks ago got hurt on the second to last play of the game. You can get hurt on any play. When you get a big 2-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter, time to call off the dogs.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we always talk about the GTFO in terms of getting off the ball. That was a GTFO in terms of get out the game. It's 35-16. I don't need to see it. So, Krug, thanks for coming by. Always good to have you. And Niners Nightly, any schedule snafus? Or are we talking a clean 6 to 7 throughout the week?
Well, actually tonight, because the boys are in Hawaii, I will be sitting in for Copes, I believe, today with D-Pop. So it's me and D-Pop from 2 to 6. And I think Crowley, the great Crowell, takes over Niners Nightly tonight. The rest of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 6 p.m., Niners Nightly. We'll have a number of great things to talk about throughout the week. And then Saturday, 49er forecast at 10 a.m., leading into Carolina. So Carolina Monday Nighter next week.
Look at that.
I want a Case Stevenson appearance. You ever get Coach Stevenson on the show? Love that guy.
Coach Stevenson. I think he's retired in Florida, but you know what? He's definitely worth dialing up because he gave me my opportunity. He gave me a life advantage. Working on his staff was the best decision I ever made.
Krug, thanks so much. Appreciate you.